Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today is a very special episode of Splat from the Past because I have been waiting for this interview for 2 years, let alone my entire life. I will be interviewing Bethany Wright, who played Polly, the hooker with the heart of gold, in the 1987 cult classic sequel, They Still Call Me Bruce. I have been waiting for this for a long time. I just always thought she was great in that movie. She should have been a huge megastar. And I'm having her on the show today to talk about why she didn't, what she's been doing since. She's done a bunch of other movies too. I mean, before that, she did a 3-hour episode of Dallas called Dallas: The Early Years, alongside Diane Franklin. She was in that as well. And she was also in Night Game, Dan Turner, Hollywood Detective, Jailbirds, a couple episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger, and a bunch of others. And I'm going to find out. I'm going to get to the bottom of Bethany Wright and talk a lot about They Still Call Me Bruce, because I just love it. It's one of the funniest movies ever made, and one of the best sequels ever made, too. It's way better than the first. If you haven't seen it, check it out. So, here is my interview with Bethany Wright.
Well, hello there.
Hey, Bethany. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm hanging in there. I'm feeling a lot better than I did talking with you the other day.
Oh, that's good.
But, oh, yeah. And it seems to be not raining here, and so it's a really good day. And anyway, I look forward to talking with you about something I haven't thought of in a long time.
Oh, I even got even more than that. And this is such a wonderful honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Well, I'm glad you reached out. It's just something that I hadn't thought of in a while in my life. And if you bear with me while I'm talking with you before I sit, I'm going to take a one-eyed Shih Tzu out to, I forgot to let her do her little thing before we began, but she's right here, and we can keep talking.
Yes.
So now, where exactly are you?
I'm in Redding, California.
Wonderful. Okay. Wonderful.
It's not so.
I hope the
It's not so wonderful.
Yeah. Well, yes, my other half, his very dear friend, his best friend, he'd call him his brother. He lives out there in Santa Monica. So.
Oh, I'd rather be in Santa Monica than Redding.
Yeah, he loves it out there. He really does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's great to talk with you. So how does this work, or where shall we begin?
This is a very linear structure from past to present. And just so you know, Bethany, if you have the need to use any 4-letter words, shock away. Nothing offends me.
As they say, at this point in my life, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's been there, done that. Yeah, been there, done that. So, yeah. It's going to be interesting to think about it, because actually it was I just recently was married. I mean, literally, and moved, and is still in the process of unpacking, and so it's and in a totally different place. I have found myself no longer where I was residing, and I am now in North Carolina, but it's taken its path. You know, I started in Michigan. I ended up in Dallas, and I ended up there for business, and then I found myself back in Michigan and becoming I became a hospice and a caregiver, and it started out with one and turned into many, which was a rather change in my life, a different fork down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Walked away from something I knew, but I don't regret it whatsoever. I find myself here now. So,
well, We'll get there slowly,
yeah.
but I wanted to ask you, going back in time, long before acting and stuff, did you gravitate towards acting at an early age?
Oh gosh, yeah. It started. It started actually in seventh grade, if not earlier. I'd taken ballet. I'd had dance for over 15 years, and then I had violin for over 12 years, and all started with singing, actually, Tommy. I sang at a Christmas concert, and everyone, not everyone, but enough people approached my parents that they said, you have to do something with this child. My mother said, yeah, I know what I'd like to do with her. But I ended up taking voice, and that's kind of how I found myself in theater. Everything started with theater and musicals and live performances. So film didn't come for quite some time.
Yeah. But
professionally, I started when I was 17. I had my first acting gig, as they would call it, and I had to have a correspondence course from high school because I auditioned when my parents had gone out of town for the weekend. My very, very dear and best friend, God love him, he's no longer with us, but he was my pianist. He accompanied me, and he was a phenomenal piano player. He was beyond his years, and unfortunately faced a lot of things in those days, being gay. But we ended up going and auditioning. I auditioned for a summer stock theater job, and I got it. And when they called, my parents were like, "What have you been doing? What are you doing while that we don't know?" So I ended up taking the job, and so I had to correspond. We had a correspondence course with my high school to get my GED.
Wow.
So that was my first gig for Huckleberry Railroad Crossing, which was a real train, live train, 50-minute ride. If you weren't robbing the train, which we had to be shown how to jump on and jump off, stunt work already, we had to be shown how to do that because if you weren't in the show, and it was a Cohan show, a review, 4 different shows. If you weren't in the show, then you were robbing the train. Oh.
I see.
That was all going on when I was just graduating high school.
Oh.
So I pretty much told them to send me my diploma in a candygram because I didn't make it to diploma. I was too busy working that day. So.
You're born and raised in Michigan, you said?
I was born and raised in Saginaw, Michigan. It took me 4 days to hitchhike. Yep. I was born and raised there, and I also found myself, my drama coach, I was doing community theater, which was an incredible community theater at that time, for its time, Hidden Balcony. The director had come from Chicago, Todd Booth, from Drury Lane, to direct and work this theater. So I started there and went on to do several roles there. And while I was there, my coach, who had so much to do with why I even did what I did, and Joy submitted me for a pageant that would go to the Miss America pageant, and didn't tell me. She just said, Bethany, you have an audition, and so I would go and sing. And so that one thing led to another, and I was still working Huckleberry Railroad crossings and still doing the job at that. And I then found myself doing this pageant, and then I won. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
And so that took me on to the Miss Michigan pageant, and I ended up winning that. And so that took me to the Miss America pageant.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got there, all 18 years old, the thing I cared about was I knew that they weren't looking at my pumps. At that time, I was the last year where you could pad your swimsuit on the top, but you couldn't do anything else on the bottom. So basically, it was just what you had was what you had, unless you wanted to add on the top. But I found myself winning the Talent Award there, and then going on and becoming a part of a road show, a national road show. So that's how the whole thing came
Wow.
about.
That must have been amazing. That must have been a lot of fun, too.
It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of, I'm going to kick your little tiny my black and white chick was reacting to me. I got to find her a treat. I really did, Tommy. But it was a whirlwind. I really wasn't a part of high school activity. I had one boyfriend that I had all through high school, and of all things, he was a musician, which my uncle was up until he even passed. Made the Jazz Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, because that's what he did his life. But the drummer that I had met, I was in ninth grade, was my boyfriend for pretty much 4 years, until the more I performed, the more it got on his nerves, because I was like making the paper or this and that, and he didn't like that too much. So kind of kept me away from, I don't know what normal is, but I was so busy doing what I was doing, and I loved it. So I can't complain, but it was a different upbringing. And
Yeah.
wasn't always my best thing.
Did you do any modeling at all?
Oh, yeah, I did the modeling and the, when I finally moved to Dallas, that's when I really started doing some modeling on the side, and that went into later. I'm gonna send you to your crate now in a minute. That took me on to meeting a lot of different artists. And then that's when I started modeling at the Apparel Mart. And I modeled there and sold clothes. Because when you're an actor, that doesn't mean you act. It means you act when you have a job. Your actual job is your audition. The job itself is the icing on the cake for me. So when I was in Dallas, when I finally got off the road with Fred Waring and his Pennsylvanians, I was a Waring blender. When I performed with him, he saw me on the Miss America pageant and had me fly down to Pennsylvania. And he was the last of the last big band. He was the big band era where Lawrence Welk was on TV, but that was because of Fred Waring. And Mr. Waring had a national tour, and I was a part of that for 2.5 years. So I sang with him and performed. I was a bus and truck show, and it was probably, well, not even probably, we had 2 weeks off at Christmas and a 2-week off break, and then we'd teach at Penn State University. We'd teach tone syllables, his way of singing. And so we covered about 140,000, 120,000 miles in the year. It was constant every day, getting up in the morning and moving to the next show. And into the theater and going directly there. But that also involved Reagan's inauguration. Carnegie Hall, doing some wonderful, wonderful things at a young age. So when I finally got off the road and realized I wanted to go on and do something else, I knew that wasn't going to happen in Saginaw, Michigan. And so I opted to audition for another summer stock program, and that was in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
And that was through Northwood Institute. And I ended up performing at Margot Jones Theater, and I got the lead in the show. And met some wonderful names that people might not recognize anymore. But and part of the team there, Sylvia Sims, who was an incredible vocalist, and the gentleman who wrote Vanities, he was the one that came and wrote this workshop, this piece. After that, I realized, I think I'm going to go ahead and come back here, because I had a lot of people, a lot of
supporters,
and a lot of. I had an agency, Kim Dawson Agency. Kim herself reached out to me, and so I decided to head back to Saginaw and pack my things in the '72 Grand Prix and move down to live with a girlfriend that I had gone to high school with, and we're still friends to this day. That's how I ended up in Dallas. And I didn't want to get married. To tell you the truth, there was someone in Saginaw, not the drummer, not the drummer, but my mom and everyone figured I would do my little deed, my little ditty, and then settle down and become a junior league member and do whatever needed to be done there and carry on the tradition. So I didn't. I put whatever I could in that car, and I drove to Dallas.
Wow. But you almost became Miss America.
Miss America, I wouldn't say I even almost, but I was pretty close to Mississippi. She won. Carol Pruitt was wonderful, too. She was and it was most of the three of the judges were from the, Tom Cruise with the, what's the religion? I mean, the belief that
Scientologists, yeah.
Yes, and she also had, it was just one of those things that I was young, I was too young, and I really wasn't, I should say, trainable. I was my own person, loved what I did. But the one thing I can say, Tommy, is that the one thing I did do was I was the only one to have ever sung in the Miss America pageant with a live orchestra. I had to send them all of the music, and I had to have that written. And I was the only one to sing, and that meant I also had to have rehearsal time. And that was their first indication. Oh heck, we're not doing this again. We're not going down this path, because I had to rehearse, and I had one rehearsal with the orchestra for, I think it was like 20 minutes. And then I sang live, and I sang with a lavalier, which had never been done, and danced. And so I think it was the first and the last, because no one could have, it always had to be recorded out of that. You could not use live music.
Yeah.
Performance. So, I mean, and that to me was worth everything. It was worth everything. I did it, afterwards, I did it my way, and I didn't give in, and it was worth it. And I also knew that I didn't get involved in the pageant because I was in 3 pageants, and when I got to the Miss America pageant, there were some crowns that moved to it. As a matter of fact, Mississippi, Cheryl moved to another state to win again. So it was like that was their goal in life, and that was what they wanted to do. And I was not in the same. All I really wanted to do was perform, and I wanted to get back into performing live and in your crate. And I just wanted to go to the next chapter, and that's what I did when I moved to Dallas.
Oh, that's good. That's good. You're your own self-made person. I'm like that too, and stuff.
And you know, sometimes it gets in our way, but at the same time, at least I can own it.
Yeah. Exactly.
At least I can own it. If anyone fucks up, I know who it was.
Yeah.
Because it was me, and there were many things that I should have accepted. There were many, when I was Miss Michigan, there were, bottoms up and things, the Playboy, we want you as a centerfold, we want you to come to Chicago, we want this and this.
Right.
There were just some things I said, no, I don't want to get where I am because someone had to buy a magazine and look in a section to see something that there was something. It wasn't the way I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So,
that's good.
And I had a grandmother, for God's sake. I mean, I just, my family, my father, who was just my best friend. Because mind you, I come from a family of incredible. My entire family are very. They're very dedicated to what they choose to do, and
Yeah.
I have siblings. I have 2 older and 1 younger, and they've all done very well in their lives, not because of what they make or who they've become, but they've dedicated themselves, and that's what I wanted to do with mine. So, my way.
Well, that's so good. I admire you for that.
Let's say I don't have my downfalls. Believe you me.
Oh,
Please.
nobody's perfect.
No.
But according to IMDb, you made your screen debut on Dallas: The Early Years.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. When I got to Dallas, I immediately, within a week, because my father always told me, he sent me with $1,000 in 1981, and he sent me with $1,000 and told me that he would help me out with rent with Amy if I needed it, but he said I would prefer if you could find a job. So when I got there, I found a job 6 days later with a restaurant, and then I found a theater job 2 weeks later, and just worked immediately. And so it was really theater until I went with Kim Dawson, but I went not the way I should have. She wanted to take me to lunch and this and that, and I was like, no, that's all right. That's okay. I'm going to do this on my own. I'll come down there and interview. And so I should have taken the offer, but I still ended up with Kim Dawson, and that's when I realized Dallas was filming there and so forth. And I knew Dallas was filming there, but you go on. That's when I found out you don't always get the job because you deserve it, and you don't always get it because you've worked the hardest for it. It's a pecking order, and sometimes you don't get it because you may not want to be seen in the same scene with an actress. So, I just...
Yeah, I've interviewed 2 others from this movie. Wendell Meldrum, who played Honey, and my very first guest was Diane Franklin. She's been on about 6 times a total. I love Diane, lovely lady. Yeah, I mean, that must have been exciting, though. I mean, Dallas was like the biggest show in the world at that point.
It was, and when I first started auditioning, and I kept thinking, really, I mean, I can I have to say, atmosphere. Anything I've worked on has had a name to my role.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken, but I commend and I have the deepest respect for those people that stand there and wait in the rain, wait in the heat, wait in this, and they are atmosphere. And that's what they were referred to as atmosphere, and or bring the cattle in and move the cattle around because you're in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
But and there were times that if I was in my own honey wagon or I had something, there was one time that there were some people I knew that were working as atmosphere. So, and it was very, very cold. It was when I think it was Texas Ranger, and so I had about 7 people in my honey wagon in my trailer. And the production guy, the assistant PD came production guy came out and like, Bethany, you have to like bring it down to a lull. People are complaining that it's so loud here. You know, you guys are having a party, and this is not a party, Bethany. So, and yeah, it was. And Dallas at that time too was so much was going on around Dallas itself. They had salons, they had clubs, and I loved dancing. I loved performing. I loved hanging out with other actors if I wasn't working. And really, it was just I really was a Polly in some ways, that I was very naive to the fact that there were people right next to me. The principal would be in the club, when she was dating. Oh God, what's his name? There were so many names and so many people, because they would come in and perform on Dallas, and they'd always be around.
Oh yeah.
But to me, it was I wasn't the one that would approach or this or that, and a lot of people did. And a lot of people, could you do this or could you do that for me? And so to me, I respected it that I would go to the audition, and I would audition, then I'd leave. And there were just so many times that I really, you just didn't get the part because they didn't want your face in the same scene or around them. They had the call to do it. They had the clout to say, no, I don't want that. Because normally after you audition and they put all the pictures out and they look and the director looks, and of course he was wonderful, but they look, and the casting director, I can't think of her name, but my God, sometimes you just put names out because out of your mind, because it just, the taste in your mouth, nothing that was against her, but she always is. Sometimes I looked at her funny. I thought, what is it? Do we need to have a come to Jesus talk, or do we need to have a time out? What is the freaking problem with you towards me?
Yeah.
And I did do, and I could have done, I thought, more roles, but what I got, I took and ran with. And of course, there were other little stints. There other shows coming on and off in Dallas. It was supposed to have been the third coast city for production.
Mm-hmm.
And we did have the facility. Las Colinas Studios, that really could have done, that had the potential. When they did, when Cher did Mask there, and several other films were done there. It really had the potential, but a right to work state is not an easy state to work in.
Yeah, I've heard. So
just because it says right to work doesn't mean you have the right.
Yeah. So let me tell you my history with They Still Call Me Bruce before we get into your stories about it. When I was about, I don't know, 5 or 6, my dad caught it on a Saturday afternoon on HBO one day, and we were just laughing hysterically at it. My dad had seen the original, but I hadn't seen the original yet. And I'd see it on HBO all the time for like a year or so, and then they stopped playing it. Then when I was about 10, my local video store had it, and I didn't know that. So I started renting it like once a week for like the next 4 years. And
oh my God.
Yeah.
God.
And then we moved out of the neighborhood. I didn't see it anywhere else. And then I moved back to the old neighborhood in 2003, started renting it a lot then. And then they started selling their VHS tapes, and then I bought it. And I had it for about 10 years. And then my mom and we lost everything, and I had to like give up all my VHS tapes. But now, thanks to eBay, I own 2 copies of They Still Call Me Bruce.
You own 2 more than I have.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to mine, because also as an actress or as an actor, it's in my life, I probably moved more in my day,
mm-hmm.
and in a year than and it's not because of it's always been something crazy, horrific, or something like that. I've never found myself in one place except for, I should say, the only thing that my last husband, oh my God, that's terrible. The only thing that my ex ever gave me was a place that I was able to pay for, because I was the bread and butter in Texas, and I lived there for 12 years, and that's probably the most the stable as far as length of time
mm-hmm.
I accrued in one place. So, yeah.
Wow.
And, wow.
How did you...
I guess it makes me wonder. My cousin also, whom I just recently got to know in the last 4 years, he vanished after Vietnam, and mm-hmm. no one really heard. He even actually ended up as a postal man in California. But long story short, he came up to me when he first said, "Jim, it's just so incredible, it's so wonderful to meet you." And he said, "I just want you to know, you've made me laugh so hard." And I'm like, I what?
Oh.
Because it turned had a copy of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "So Jim, do you have an extra copy?" He goes, "No, but I'll see what I can do for you."
Yeah, so how did you get cast as Polly?
How did I? Well, that is, I was with Tim Dawson. I had not, except for Dallas and a few other, and then started doing some commercial work. I really was strictly theater, and I was doing a lot of summer stock and live theater. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this part came up, and they said, there's a part down in Houston they're reading for. And at that time, I was dating someone, and he was the do-all and end-all of actors, and everyone thought so much of Woody Watson. And so I would hook up. Woody would say, "Yeah, you got to go and read for this." So I went down, and I read, and I came back from reading, and then they called me and said, "Well, they want to see you again." Mm-hmm. Which, in my opinion, it's a 4-hour drive, but that was nothing. We did this all the time.
Yeah.
It's Southwest. I did that for a long time until their prices, you couldn't do it, and standby was not enough. And so I went down there, and I believe it was about 4 times. And every time I read, and there was originally supposed to be a nude scene in this role. Mm-hmm. And of course they said to me, "You realize that you're taking over the original, you're taking over Hemingway's part. I mean, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. And of course, I knew it was. But when I went down there and I read, they'd only give you the certain sides at that time to read. And I went down there it was the fourth time, and because nudity was expected, of course, they have to view the good. I mean, they want to make sure you haven't like tattooed your body up or something like this, or maybe they wanted a tattoo. I don't know, but you had to go through this interview with someone because it was topless, it was waist up nudity.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'd done the musical Hair.
Yeah.
I did the lead in Hair. I mean, I don't have a problem with nudity. It did make sense. But it was the first time that I was it would be a forever thing. It would be out there. It's not like it's a performance where you go home and, the rest of them go home. But so I went down there and of course they said, yes, we're going to have to, go through this scene again. So you're going to have to be topless again. And I'm looking and I said, guys, I have not changed in the last 2 weeks. I promise you. I haven't gotten, nipple rings. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. So what do you have to see again? I mean, if this is just to get a thrill, then let's get it over with. I mean, let's just get it over with. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, no, it's not that. And I said, well, then take a picture. Do something. Because I want the role, and I've come down here 4 times. Well, needless to say, when I left, I got a call from my agent, Bethany.
Mm-hmm.
You never, ever go in with, your nose in the eye. It wasn't attitude. It wasn't. I mean, it was like, guys, let's get through this. Let's just do this. So she said, well, you've got to learn the ropes. I thought, okay, all right, sorry about that. Just tell me when I need to go down there again. So
mm-hmm.
and I promise I won't go down with a bra. I won't wear my bra down there so I have any strap lines. But I didn't hear anything, and then it was just very matter of fact. It was like I got a call, and it was, oh, hey, you got the role. I got the role.
Wow.
And really, and mind you, for the times that at that point, for the amount of times I'd auditioned, I'd come fairly close to some wonderful roles that, once again, if they have someone that's a friend of a friend of a friend, or I learned that the hard way. Don't ever walk out of a room. Don't ever walk out of an audition thinking you've gotten it. Even if the director himself says, wow, that was right on.
I still believe that.
No,
when they say it to
no.
When they say it to your face, that means you didn't get it.
You know what? That is so, and it was one other role that I'd auditioned for, and I almost lost the job. I almost lost the job that I had.
Yeah.
Because I went for this callback, and I had to fly down there, and I had to fly back, and I had to be ready for that job, and no one was happy about it. And I got down there, and Woody Watson, who by that time we had gotten married,
mm-hmm.
and we had gotten divorced. It was just taught me a lot in this business, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he was my best friend. But he picked me up from the airport down in Austin. But for that particular audition, when I read for it, and at the end of reading it, the director just said, shit. What have I done now? And the casting director who had cast me, Barbara Brinkley, oh, God. That was when you could actually smoke in the halls. we go out there, and she comes out in the hallway after about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you could hear this arguing going on in that room. And she came out of the hallway, and, Woody's waiting there for me because I have to catch my plane back. And there were all these other people ready to audition and interview, and she came up, she had a cigarette in her mouth. She goes, Bethany, all I can tell you is, the director loves you. And she took a drag out of her cigarette and goes, but the producer hates your guts. I'm like, oh. Wow. Turns out the producer had someone in New York that wanted the role.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. But, it was in front of everybody, and I'm thinking to myself, I had never met the producer. I don't even, which one was the producer?
Yeah.
So with Bruce, when I was told that I got it,
mm-hmm.
I really thought, wow. I was recognized. I'm going to do the best I can, and it was from everyone else. It was just like, yeah, we heard you got it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Did you hear that I had this audition myself? And I'm like, okay, all right. So, and most of the wardrobe you saw in there, well, not all the wardrobe was mine.
Yeah.
And there was one moment when, and that's not to knock the wardrobe, the person that did the wardrobe, she was wonderful, but she couldn't come up with things, and they didn't know what to do. And I'll never forget one night I literally drove all the way back to Dallas.
Yeah.
And picked up all these clothes and brought them all the way back down. And I told Jeannie, I said, I'm going to go, Jeannie. I'm going to get this. I'm going to go grab this, and I'm not on tomorrow morning, so I'll be back and I'll bring this all to you, because most of the clothes were mine, because they had no idea. The creating of Polly and doing it kind of just was me following and going with instinct, because just my natural instinct, which is, I'm grateful, because I think that the director, I really never got any, he never, Jim Moore, he never came up to me and said, and Johnny never directed me. It was just Jim.
Yeah.
Jim never came to change this, change that, or change this. Not once. And when we first started the film, and God, that was just chaos. When we first started the film, we were staying in this incredible hotel in Houston, which since went on to its demise. The gentleman that owned it, this multi-millionaire, he ended up committing suicide in prison because he was embezzling.
Yeah.
No, but so we were at this hotel, and we're staying there, and where was I? When I got there, it was just immediately shooting, and the people that I met, Pat Paul was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, he was great.
Was and that was my first scene.
Yeah. Which scene was your first scene?
Oh my God, my first scene was in the diner.
Okay.
Some guy.
Yeah, Dick Capri is the guy handcuffed to the bedpost in that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, he has a YouTube channel with that scene uploaded.
Well, and mind you, that scene was the first one because it was, the whole thing was done by the seat of our pants, because sometimes, and production, location directors,
mm-hmm.
they sometimes didn't have the place until sometimes the one night it changed when all of a sudden they said, okay, we're going to do the scene in your flat. I'm like, okay, all right. Oh, I thought we were doing this other scene. He goes, no. Look over this scene now because we're doing this. They hadn't had the location, and the other one kind of fell through, and so they said, we got this one, let's do it. And but the restaurant one was, Pat was in between takes. He just looked over at me, and you have to take it with a grain of salt, but having always trusted myself enough to know at least, and believe me, if someone came up with an idea or said something to me or their opinion, he looked at me and he said, your first film, I tell you what, he goes, throw it away. Just throw it away. Always throw a funny line away. Don't even think, just throw it away. And I looked and said, oh, okay. And he goes, no, really, throw it away. And because I knew who he was, and I, along with several others, Travolta, I really, it's like, so how's your brother John?
Yeah.
But Joey was even funny. In fact, Joey was more of a, a kickback kind of a person. But we all just, I relied on myself. And if someone came up and said something, very, very few did. Very, very few.
Yeah.
When he said that, it made an impression on me at the right time of the film because it was right at the beginning. And he said, do it. He said, you obviously got this role for a reason, so run with it. And I said, oh, okay, all right. And I did. And they had, at that time, rushes. I mean, at the end of the day, they would do rushes. And, like David Mendenhall, Johnny always went. Everyone went to go see what they had done.
Yeah.
That day. I never went. I never went to go see one. And as a matter of fact, Johnny Ewan asked me too. He said, I didn't see you last night. I didn't, you weren't at the, you didn't, I said, I'm not going to. I don't want it to affect how I'm going to perform. I don't want to look at myself and say, and judge myself. If there's something that needs to be changed, I've got a director that will come up to me. Or if I'm veering off, he'll say something to me. So I don't want to change anything because I saw some people changing throughout the course of the film. And I thought, I'm just going to stay with where I am.
Wow.
And that's how and so many people went to go see the Rushes. And the guy that was in charge of scripts, because he became a very good script. I saw him when I went out to California on another project that I did. And like I said, there were many things, times I could have done things, but none the wiser, I'm not going to sit here and say, I threw it away because it's done, it's over, I'm where I am.
Yeah.
But he was always, he would come up to me, Mark Thomas. He would come up to me.
Yeah.
And he would just look at me and say, good going, I saw it last night. You're on. And that was kind of, like I said earlier, I heard that from him and I thought, okay, then I know someone has seen what I've done. And he would just say, you're on the mark. That scene last night was hysterical because, like the zipper scene in the disco.
Yeah, I love that. Classic.
That dress, I had no idea what they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
They weren't at the. Sometimes I didn't get anything from gym wars. Sometimes I was like, what am I supposed to do? And at that point, that was a dress that I had gotten from the apparel mart of some modeling, and that was and it was one of those. It was one of those dresses I brought down, and it was just I pulled everything out, and how we fell upon me wearing that dress that night is just a fluke. But it was the funniest thing because I didn't have any idea. At one point, I knew I was supposed to, he's on the floor, and I'm like, I'm trying to, they said, just, who's it? Like, Christy, who did my makeup, who was phenomenal. There were people that would watch and say something, and if Jim said anything, he just said, be more frustrated. Oh, it had to be Johnny. Johnny Ewan came up to me and said, give me something to work with. Give me something to work with. I'm like, he said, just do something. So I thought, okay, so he's doing that, and I started doing the zip with me, because I knew his zipper was down, and I was not pointing or anything else. So, and when I did it, it was just like the next day. That was when Mark said, "Oh, that it was hysterical." And it's between the dress and your reaction, your facial reaction. He said you were so frustrated. So it's like he wasn't getting that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So a lot of it was just as this film work is. Some of the best work comes out of just pulling it out of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny you talk about being difficult and set in your ways. I talked to Daniel Knight, and he told me that you were very lovely and professional on this movie.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that because I will be quite honest. That's been my first movie, and I was in a place in my life that I was in a marriage. Woody and I. Woody didn't get a part on that movie.
Yeah.
And that played havoc with us. It played havoc. It really did. And it was crazy times. That's all I can tell you. It was crazy times, and I found myself becoming a part of crazy. But I will tell you the role itself. And there was the one night that I came when they see me, there's a person that's there's a person. It's me that's supposed to be walking to the condo, walking to the place, and alongside the water, in that pink dress, in that fringe dress, and it wasn't me. It was which we became friends and everything, but Linda Bischoff, and I'm looking because I see the name. Linda Bischoff was given that dress because I had left the set. They sent me home. And when they sent me home, back to the hotel was about 35 minutes away because we were in Clearwater, and so we were it wasn't even where the condo was, which is a given. It was just the outside area. Well, they didn't know what to do. They thought, what the hell are we going to do? She's gone. And they looked over, and there was Linda. She was on set, and they're like, yeah, the same height. I got the same kind of hair color. Shoot, it's going to be a long shot because it's a very long shot. But so they put her in my dress and had makeup do her hair just like mine. It was just hysterical. So,
yeah,
moments, crazy moments, and that's how that film it was by the seat of its pants. It really was.
Yeah, I love this. I love this movie more than the original because I like the first one, but it's very dark and gritty and slapsticky, like a 70s exploitation movie. But this one has such sweetness to it and so much heart. Like the relationship between Bruce Polly and the kid Billy is so cute, you know?
Oh, he was. And when you say that, it's I remember Johnny Ewan. I remember him on the Carson Show.
Yeah.
They Call Me Bruce.
Yep.
remember when he would be on there from after that film.
Yep.
And I also remember he was trying to come back, and the way he wanted to do it was through another movie, and the only way he could see it was Bruce.
Yeah.
He was Bruce Lee. That's what everyone, and he was, when he was funny, he was very funny, and we didn't, not that there weren't moments, but he's the one that when I was about to do the scene, and the nudity was supposed to be when I was in the bathtub.
Right.
He gets in the tub. I was supposed to get in the tub, and I was going to be, even though there were lots of bubbles and all this, I was still going to be topless. And I think I had come to terms with it, and I was ready for it. Everyone on the set seemed nervous, and it was almost, and I'm not saying like you've had your last meal and they're walking you down to the chair, but it was that moment that all of a sudden, the phone call came. It was Johnny Ewan. And he said, and he was on his way to the set. And it was Johnny Ewan, and he said, "Skip the scene. No nudity."
Nice.
And it's like someone walks up to me and goes, "You've been spared." And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean I've been spared? What's wrong with my kids? What's wrong with them? Huh? You guys have seen them 4 times. I came down and I was like, what do you mean? You can't do this to me.
Yeah.
So, and then we of course we were waiting because I was going to do that scene where I go to get in the tub, and it was noon and all that. And he goes, "So we're skipping. We're going to the next scene. You're in the tub." I'm like, oh, okay. So then Johnny shows up to the set, and he wouldn't take. One thing I can appreciate is he didn't take forever in makeup and all this. He was just, and he was very with the crew, but with especially those. They were the funniest. The pimp one, the pimps. They were very, very funny. They were very funny, and Johnny let them be funny, which sometimes you don't get that.
Yeah,
They want you to take over the scene.
Yeah, that black pimp Charlie. Do you know what his name was? Because he's not credited on either IMDb or the credits at the end.
I'm looking. I mean, he was the one that was almost blind.
Yeah, I mean he had an afro and sunglasses.
Exactly. I thought that, and I'm looking at. He wasn't the black dude.
No.
The black guy.
No. That guy was in the club. Yeah.
Right. I cannot think. And he had the big fro, right?
Yeah.
And the glasses.
Yeah.
I cannot think of his name. And shame on me, because he was, they would come on set, and I don't even know if he was, I think sometimes, and I know that they did this in the club, the club scene. Sometimes they would pull someone from Atmosphere, from there, and have them be a part of, because that's the other thing that was great, was they would show up when there were people, especially when we were in the ring.
Yeah.
The very end of the film, there were people that, they were. I cannot tell you. At that point, I had pulled my neck was so out of whack, and I even went to a chiropractor. I was in such pain at that time, during that scene, during that that I can remember though that they would take people that were in the audience and pull them forward, or do or use them for looks and all this. So I don't know if they pulled him out of the crowd, because he was so perfect and spot on.
Yeah.
And they might have done it because, Tommy, I know that at that time, and no one who would be aware of this, but during the production of They Still Call Me Bruce was when everything hit the fan. They were having problems with the union. They were having problems, and the union came in, and then we shut it down, or because checks weren't. The weekly didn't come out on time, and
I have a story about that. Yeah.
And during that whole time, there we are, and we're just held up in this hotel, and we're waiting. And they said, "Nope, we're not shooting today. Nope, we're not shooting tomorrow." And I know that, the crew. At one point, the crew walked. They wouldn't show up to set.
Yeah.
Because people weren't getting paid, and also at that time they were doing another horror flick in town called the Lamp.
Huh.
So here you've got production crew. We had an incredible production crew. I will say, for all my years of working, whether even stage production, but even film, I worked with some wonderful, wonderful gaffers and so forth. But we had a really, really phenomenal crew working that.
Mm-hmm.
We really did. And the ones that stuck it out through all the through all the problems with the production and the pay and everything else, my hat's off to them too, because they just wanted to make it work.
Yeah.
And committed to the project. They were committed to it. So.
Yeah, if you go on imdb.com there, on They Still Call Me Bruce, and look in the comments section, J. David Mueller, who played Slim, he wrote about some of the production problems with the money in there before he died.
Yeah, he did Slim, and he was so nice.
Yeah, he was on Dallas.
He was so nice, and he was so kind, and Roy Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at. I'm glancing at names that just really.
Carl Benson, who played Mr. B, I looked him up, right? He did like a handful of movies and TV shows in the 50s, and then this was like his first thing he did in like 30 years, and then I don't even know if he's still alive.
And Carl Benson, Mr. B, he was also, he had done, what was the name of that show? Doggone it. It was like not Moving On Up, but it was still, not Bonnie.
Barney Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? When I knew I was working on the film and doing it, those names meant so much to me.
Yeah.
To know that they were a part of the project.
Oh yeah.
Johnny called in some not favors, but he called in and like I said, he wasn't afraid to use anyone else that had an incredible that had such good timing.
Yeah. And Lee Holmes, who played Master McLean, that's like his only credit. And I think Daniel told me that he was a stunt coordinator or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I said, they pulled people in.
Yeah.
They pulled people in. But I will tell you one thing. I think there was something. All I know is there was one point, there was someone that they were looking. Anyhow, Johnny made it very clear that Woody was not going to have any part in that movie.
Yeah.
Really chapped his eye. Really, really did. But it was, and then after it came out, I was working at a convention it was like a year after it had been out, a year and a half after it had been out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at a convention in Vegas, the real estate convention, and I'm working this booth, and I got to the booth, and this guy just walks up to me and he goes, "Did you do a role? Were you Polly?" And I just looked at him with yeah, I was in a movie, yes. Because they still call me Bruce. I'm like, well, yes. He goes, "Oh my God, I saw you last night." I'm like, what? Well, we were on Showtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and during that convention, I became slave. There were some people that were like, "Well, that's her working that booth right now. I mean, she's working." Wow. Because some of them, I thought, gee, I figured you'd all be out, partying in Vegas. I thought you'd all be out doing the shows, but they were watching Showtime that night. And
Yeah.
there I was. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was the one time it had kind of come back to me, and I was aware of the fact, and I would get an occasional call from someone saying, "Oh my God, were you in a movie? They still call me Bruce?" Yeah, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hmm?
I was going to.
No, I was just back when I was out when I go out to LA, and I always told Mark, because we'd go and have lunch or something, and he'd just mark the script. He just always told me, he said, "God, that was just one of the best movies I'd ever worked."
Yeah.
You need to be out here. You need to be out here. And of course, it never happened. It just never did, because life happened. Life steps in the way.
Yeah. He created such a great character. This guy who's like naive in the tradition of Jacques Tati, and he takes everything literally. He goes through, and in this movie, he goes through like a midlife crisis, but at the end, he gets a wife and a son, and they're both Caucasian. It's brilliant. And I interviewed David Mendenhall's sister Francie, who's 20 years older than he is, and she was one of Dean Martin's Gold Digger dancers back in the 70s. She told me that her father was diagnosed with brain cancer about a week after filming Wrapped, and they got to it in time, and he was good for 4 years, and him and Johnny talked about doing a Bruce 3. But after that Jim died, Johnny didn't want to do a third one without Jim.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And, and I knew David, I knew Billy,
Mm-hmm.
because from the soap opera.
Oh, yeah.
That he'd been a part of. All Night, no, One Life to Live. He was in a soap opera.
Yes, he was.
I remember him then, because I would occasionally, watch soaps, or someone would, or even, and when I got the part, it wasn't even so much as, "Oh yeah, that's really great, Bethany." It was like, "Do you know who you're going to be working with?" or can you get an autograph for me? Like, was definitely a movie made out of love because Johnny Ewan, and like you said, the script itself was so funny. He was so dry.
Yeah. And
so
you
very, very dry. And
you and him had great chemistry in all the scenes you two had together. You know, I mean that bathtub moment. You know, where he's wearing clothes in the bubble bath, or you know when he's holding your feet while you do sit-ups, and it sounds like you two are fucking. And he says to you, "I like that towel. 100% breast. I mean cotton."
And I have to tell you something, which is how naive I probably was. I know what it says and what it says, but
Yeah.
until I actually saw, because like I told you, I never went to the Russians, didn't see it until it was there.
Yeah.
And when I saw that scene where it came up to us doing the sit-ups, I'm like, really? Now I get it. And now I see where, I mean, because they did such it was hysterical. It was very well done. It was very funny. And of course you don't know that when they're telling you, okay, do this, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, especially like with the recordings, they never told me what was going to be on the recordings when I came into the flat.
Yeah.
They never told me what was on my my voicemail or on the messages.
Yeah.
So it was really my face for the first time hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's that?
Really? Oh, next time I watch that, I'm gonna know that now.
They thought it was so damn funny. I mean, you know, when it was, I'm like, oh, you guys, oh, come on.
Yeah. And of course, I have a friend. Her favorite line is when he says, "I have sex almost every day, almost Monday, almost Tuesday, almost Wednesday." Was it hard not to laugh when he was dressed as the geisha in the massage parlor?
Oh my God! Oh my God! They were, yeah, and what else was really funny was when we were driving.
Mm-hmm.
When I said, you know, I'll drive. I'm because of course the car was on a trailer.
Yeah.
We weren't even and he would have me in stitches between takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so what are you wearing? So you have underwear? You have underwear on? Would you stop it? Just stop it. Because, oh, look at diction. What does this do? Does this go up down? Look, Johnny, stop it. Leave it. Stop it. We were just going to start shooting just because of the takes between, the outtakes.
Yeah.
And him sitting. And finally, I'm like, okay, you guys, tell him to stop. Tell him to stop. Oh, God.
Yeah.
It was,
And Daniel told me that you guys had like a Sunday brunch rap party.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. He said that he was a little disappointed that Robert Guillaume and Pat Paulson didn't show up to it, but he said that you guys were like just one big happy family that day and just, had a great time.
And also in the when we had some reporters, we were having just a production, an intro into the movie, and it was on the first floor, mm-hmm. And that was also another meet and greet and a reception.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, yeah, and that was the brunch, and it was like toward the end, and I think it was Jim that came up and he said, "So are you gonna speak?" I'm like, I will if you want. I will if you want me to.
Yeah.
Well, just keep it short, keep it nice, and keep it brief. Oh, because yeah, you know, there were moments, but when it was all said and it was all wrapped, and especially in the Coliseum when we did in the ring, that was really. That was a good way to end the movie.
Yeah.
To do that scene last.
Yeah, when he's fighting Donald Gibb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a lot of fun doing that. Did you ever talk to Johnny again after this?
I haven't. No.
No.
No, I never did. I never did. I received a note that was just and gracious to say I enjoyed working with you, and hopefully everyone enjoys it as much as we did. It was a very nice note that was left when he left. But no, we never. It's really odd that you say that because we never spoke after that.
Well,
never.
I talked to the legendary comedian Tom Dreesen, and he told me what Johnny's been up to. So by the early 90s, Johnny could not get arrested in Hollywood, and so he met this this very wealthy woman, and he went back to Korea with her, and she got him a talk show there, and he hosted a talk show there for many years. And
wow.
Just about 3 years ago, he had a really bad stroke. And yeah, I don't think he could barely talk anymore, sadly.
He had a talk show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is quite funny because he was in Cannonball Run where he played a talk show host.
I think he probably was in his glory. I mean, he was in his realm, personally.
Yeah.
Wow, that just really, I did wonder, and you know, when you mentioned that he had met someone, a wealthy, I don't know if I heard that through from maybe Mark or whatever, but, not, it's hard because when no one will touch you and no one will give you the time of day.
Yeah.
And also, that movie, in my opinion, had so much more to it than it was given credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Because having continued and having worked after that. That script had, I mean, there was a lot going on, and it was funny. It was poignant, and yet at the same time, it just really so many different characters, so many different directions, and yet it came out like you said. Who would go figure? You know, in the end, with a son and a prostitute wife away. You know, I mean, it was just.
Yeah, and you brought so much to Polly. I mean, at that time, it was a cliche to have a hooker with a heart of gold in movies. You know, like Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places and what have you.
Yeah.
But you brought such a sweetness to her and such an empathy, and that's why I've always loved you in that movie.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I didn't even, and that's, I didn't see her as a prostitute, as someone that was ashamed of what she did. She was doing what she did, and it didn't mean that she was whom everyone assumes you are when you are one.
Right.
I just and really, like I said, her character and how I portrayed her was only because of Johnny and how he was, and beginning, I think that she, she began to care again, and it wasn't because she didn't have it in her. So came out, and it came out because of their relationship. It just came out because of the she was taken down a different road with someone that frustrated her, made her laugh, made her, and the more they got caught up in the situation, what was going on, she ran with it just like him. I mean, she wasn't hard.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever hard.
Yeah. But after you did that movie, you kept working. You had a role in Peter Masterson's Night Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that role, boy, did I have to earn that one too. I mean, when they say you have to earn it,
it's a tough business.
And it was tough, and I'm not saying that you have it tougher when you're when you're a female. It's different than a guy. It's just different because, first of all, if you're female, you've got to be a certain height because you're going to play against a guy, and if he's shorter than you, it's not going to work, and they're not going to bring you back anyway.
Right.
It's crazy to say well, you don't have a callback because you're too tall, and you're thinking to yourself, this whole thing stems on my height, or you're not going to be called back because you're too pretty, and or the lead doesn't want you to be a part of it, or the director has other thoughts when you come in for the final, like with Oliver Stone. Well, I'll never forget going for JFK and reading for him, and I thought, you know what, you're an ass. I just I'm here for an audition. I'm not here to be picked up.
Yeah.
So, and not to say he's not a great director or he hasn't done some wonderful things, but this is my job.
Yeah.
And this is what I do. And I'm not here for any other reason.
Yeah.
But I did go on to do some more things, and for me, it also played a part of. I've done this for my whole life, and it's what I really chose and wanted to do. And when I finally wanted to have a family, and it was the last break, Simple Men. They wanted me to. I had an invite to go back out to LA, and I thought, you know what? I'd had enough tragedies in my life, enough losses, that I knew what was important to me for the first time in my life was I wanted to have a family. And unfortunately, I married someone who turned out to be gay, so it really wasn't going to work. I mean, when I think, God, could you not come out of the closet before we walk down the aisle? I mean, I guess really I am Polly. I'm so freaking naive. I thought maybe you were great.
It was a different time.
Yeah, and I am Polly. See if I turn this around? But, it just, it took its course, and I've thought about going back in to business because that's the beauty of this business is there's no shutting it down. There's no too old. There's no, as a matter of fact, maybe my wrinkles and maybe everything I've been through will only help me. And I think it would, but And that's what I really enjoyed about They Still Call Me Bruce. There were people on that film. There were comedians. There were people that I truly enjoyed working with and watched because they'd been there, and they had nothing to prove. They were just enjoying it.
Yeah.
They weren't going to the ride. They were creating the ride, and it was fun, and it was good. So I may or may not, who knows, the man that I've found me, and has known of me, but the man that's in my life right now, he would be my first fan. I mean, he's just do whatever you feel you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I might do. But I think at this point in my life, I would probably be able to hopefully not be jaded as I became with everything. It's hard. You want to make a living at it, and someone once said to me, "Well, it's too bad you didn't make it in this business." I said, "Oh, I did. I earned a living. I paid my way.
Mm-hmm.
Took care of several exes. I paid the alimony. I worked hard. So I think at this point, I could probably enjoy a good script, or working with people that want to make it work, and that's what They Still Call Me Bruce was. They all wanted to make it work."
Yeah. I remember 15 years ago, watching the movie and going on your IMDb, and at that time, the movie that you had just recently done was A Killer Within, and I thought to myself, God, why isn't she working more? She is just brilliant, That's how I felt.
It was really hard, and having been on, I was with Screen Actors Guild. Believe me, if I'm going to do something, Tommy, if I'm going to be a union member, then be a union member. Do what's right for us, for the members. I couldn't do it in a right to work state, and after 11 years on the board and so forth, and you're doing that, and you're trying to get parts, and I just couldn't handle being in a room anymore where the first words out of their mouth was, "So what are you up for? So what do you do? Did you know I did this? Did you know I've been there? Did you know I'm just getting through the day."
Yeah.
I'm getting through the day. Just would love to have a great role presented. And the very last role, not the last, but Recoil, the one with, lovely, Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
That's kind of just really...
Point Blank, yeah.
Point Blank was exactly that. It was a complete point blank. I can't even tell you what it took to get a part where first they said, "Well, you're too old. Well, you're not this. Well, you're not that. But you're the only one that can do this. And they need that. But you can't have blonde hair." And so they dyed my hair black. And you can't do this. And you have to, and the whole movie itself was, Mickey Rourke had to move from one hotel in Fort Worth. He went through two, actually, in Fort Worth, and then he had to move to Dallas because he'd gone through all the prostitutes there. It was just, the whole production was just, not that there weren't great people on the set, but it was not the same whatsoever, and it was what? One that, and I was done with it. I was really done with it.
Yeah.
Really done. I felt like I had just really undermined myself. I gave in to. I wanted it to do. To me, do something that's memorable and do a role that's bad. It was like the whole thing was like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't into it. And I certainly, by that time when it was over, my marriage work, but
Yeah.
I want to work for me. I want to create something, and I want people to enjoy it, and the enjoyment was gone.
Yeah. And plus, Mickey Rourke, he had a reputation for being difficult, but I think he was difficult in the same context like you, that he wants to do good work and he wants to do it his way.
Oh, he's a method actor. He can't do it unless he's done it.
Mm-hmm.
So his roles are so they're just so it's like the movie Parasite. I mean, it's so down there. I mean, as the character that he has played, that he plays, it just he has to live it.
Yeah.
I've had a value lesson in my life from everything I've done.
Yeah.
I now know you don't have to live it to be able to do it. I'm a kind of, I see it, I can take it in, I can regurgitate, I can taste it, and I can smell, but I don't have to be it. And he was just, it was just that production shut down too. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
based. But I mean, I went in there thinking, well, this is really cool. I'm going to work with Mickey Rourke. I mean, Roy Scheider, when I did Night Game,
Yeah.
he was phenomenal. He was the epitome of a very gracious and an actor. He was wonderful to work with. And I didn't even have any scenes with Mickey, but I was very glad that I didn't have any scenes with Mickey.
Yeah. Did you get to work with Mark Singer on Dan Turner, Hollywood Detective?
Dan Turner, yeah. When I did Dan Turner, and that was another kind of strange one because it was. He was there, yes, and when we were in the scene that night in the fair at the carnival, but I didn't really get to know. Sometimes actors stay like JR, like in Dallas.
Larry Hagman.
Never see.
Yeah.
Yeah, Larry Hagman. I saw more of Larry Hagman because I have a motor. I've been riding. As a matter of fact, the one film that I got when I've been riding a motorcycle since '99,
Nice.
and I saw more of him in Ignacio for Four Corners when he came out there to be a part of Blessing with the Bikes. But Larry Hagman, people like that on the set, sometimes they'd even have the stand-in. Their doubles come in and do it up until the very take, and then they show themselves. And I found that some of the more memorable are the people that not hang out on the set, they're part of it. And they're there. Johnny Ewan was always there. I mean, that's strange because when I get back to the nudity scene, he was not there. He wasn't on set. He wasn't off to the side. He was a part of after the nude scene was to have been done. Then we were supposed to go on to the scene when he gets into the tub. Or he's in the tub. Excuse me. But he was supposed to have been there but he wasn't there.
Yeah.
That says volumes. That he was always on the set. He was always a part of it. Other than that, I just like he just didn't want to be a part. And he called it off, of course. But there are other actors that would be there. They'd probably have front row seat and sit there and say, how close can we get to this? So, but that's so different with many of the productions that I've been a part of. And there have been some that have been an operator was just fun. We all enjoyed working together, and there were people that I'd worked with before. And the Simple Men, that was, it was, I mean, it was, I came onto the set,
Mm-hmm.
I got to swim, I did my scene, we did the close-ups, we did this and that, and then they said goodbye, and then I got in my car, and then I drove back to Dallas.
Yeah.
I should have didn't stay the night. I mean, it was done in Houston, but they still call me Bruce. There were people that were just day players,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd still be a part of the film. They'd still come onto the set,
Yeah.
even if that was done. And that was the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
How was Chuck Norris when you worked with him on Walker, Texas Ranger?
Chuck is Chuck is very, very nice, and Chuck knew. Oh gosh, Woody had done quite a bit of a role on Texas Walker Ranger, and when I got my first part on there, Chuck was very nice, and the three of us kind of sat around. And of course, Woody and I are divorced by this time.
Yeah.
And Chuck looked at us and he said, "You guys get along so well. I mean, you know, you were married. What happened?" I said, "We got divorced." And he looked at me and said, "It just didn't work marriage-wise." And Chuck was very, very nice. And then he even said to Woody, he said, "Do you think she'd maybe go out to," because he wasn't with anyone at that time, and he had been with someone for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had made mention of, "Do you think she might want to go out to dinner or lunch or something?" But he goes, no, she's really not. No, yes, Bethany's busy and all this. And when Woody told me later on, I said, "I can't believe you said that, Woody." And he says, "Well, you would have wanted to have gone." Like, this is a conversation that maybe I should have had with him himself. And goes, "Yeah, you would have wanted to have gone." And of course, he's right.
Yeah.
And that's not even the fact that I even got asked. So it's just, he's very down to earth. He's very down to earth, and he was always about the set. He was always professional.
Oh, that's
always.
good. That's good.
So, yeah, he would never have said anything. And of course, I enjoyed working. And the frustrating thing of being in Dallas and having the shows there is, if you worked a show, they didn't call you for another year or so. Especially if you're a female. Now, guys, they can make them up, give them a beard, do this and all. But the females, it's so many were up for a part or for a role. If you were killed in a Walker, Texas Ranger, you're done for another year. They're not going to even bring you back.
Yeah.
And they're not going to touch you for a while. And when I finished Recoil, my hair was, black. That was my hair. Point blank. That was the movie was originally Recoil. When I finished that,
Mm-hmm.
and they tried to dye my hair back, it wasn't pretty. It really was fucked up. It fell out. I ended up getting a pixie. I had a pixie, and then I ended up having, it was kind of like I can't say it was strawberry blonde. It was like maybe orange blood blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny because it got me into another audition for Walker, because it was like, who the hell is that? She doesn't even look like her picture.
Yeah. I see on IMDb there's a picture of you dressed as Marilyn Monroe. Were you impersonating her for a while?
All 28 years.
Wow. I
started. I even forgot about her. I did Marilyn longer than Marilyn did Marilyn.
Yeah.
But I started when I was at Casa Manana summer workshop. It's summer, not workshop, the summer theater. And I had the summer there in production, and Jack Bunch, the director, came up to me toward the end and said, I have a show, Some Like It Hot, that's playing at the Union in Vegas, and we need the lead is leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out she was very difficult to work with.
Yeah.
So he said, I need to know if you'd be interested in auditioning. And so I auditioned for him in Fort Worth, where Casa Manana is. And I ended up, he just said, okay, you're cast. And I'll let you know if you're cast. I didn't hear from him for about a month, and I figured I didn't get it. And I was really sad. I was frustrated. But all of a sudden I get a phone call, and it's, we need you in Vegas 2 days from now. And you're going into the show next week. And I went, okay. So I ended up doing the show. This was in 83.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up doing the show 83 into 84. And then I was going to go on and do it in Jersey, in New Jersey, Atlantic City. And I was going to do it with, oh God, shame on me, football player, I'm trying to think of his name. I'll think of it, Joe...
Montana. Sorry, not Montana. Montana or Namath.
Joe Namath. I was going to do the show. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tommy. You know better than me. I was going to do the show with Joe Namath. And then I went home to spend, my birthday was in February, and so we were supposed to start up within that week, the end of February. Mm-hmm. And so I went home, and my father died of a massive coronary the weekend, and so that was in 84, and that's when my whole entire life changed. In fact, I don't even know what would have happened had I gone to New Jersey. If I'd gone to Atlantic City, I may not have even been called in for, they still call me Bruce. My whole life changed, and it was really, well, that was 83, but it's still 80, because Bruce was 86, but my whole life changed from what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And but the Maryland, I ended up doing several years later with Larry Kurt and Robert Morris down in Tut, Theater Under the Stars. Mm-hmm. And that really gave me, after doing the show there with them, after one of the performances, Robert came into my dressing room and he goes, we're going to this hospitality, we're going to this house tonight. We had all these, because doing the leads, you were asked to come and meet and greet. And he said, it's the guy's birthday, so can you come with Maryland? Can you sing happy birthday, do that for him? And I went, you told him I was going to do it, didn't you? And he goes, yeah, I did. You did. So I started doing Marilyn off the side, and that's when I started performing her nonstop.
Beautiful.
Nonstop.
Yeah.
And carried her, and well, she carried me. But even when I was doing, they still call me Bruce. I had a couple of Marilyn on-off nights, and they would take me back to Dallas.
Nice.
I did Ross Perot's birthday. I did Jeb Bush's birthday. The opening for the, not the opening, but at the Stars game. And I'll never forget at the Rangers, I performed for, oh God, he's with J-Lo. But I did his birthday, and on ESPN. So, it's like she carried me through times when I didn't have the gigs that I needed, but she certainly did pay for. She was her own, and that was all improv. So she carried me.
Oh, that's wonderful.
In fact, when I went to take care of my mom, and that's how I lost someone in my life in Canada at a motorcycle accident, someone that was my other half. And when I got back to Dallas, I was once again just in a place where I didn't know what I could do anymore. I couldn't think straight. So I ended up selling motorcycles, of all things, at the dealership, and because all I did was ride. I did a lot of riding, and then I did one of the last films I did with the sci-fi. God, what was the name of that film?
The Killer Within.
Yes.
With C. Thomas Howell. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the last thing that I did. At least, and then my mom became ill, and I was the designated child to take care of her. So I just completely walked away from everything, and my agent would call and say, "Okay, are you auditioning anymore?" I said, "Not right now. I'm full time. I'm caregiving." And then all of a sudden, "Well, you got a Maryland. I can't do it. You got a Maryland. I can't do it." Then I had someone call me and said, "Hey, Bethany, you've done Maryland for us for the last 4 years. We need you to do Maryland." And I said, "I can't do it. My mother is, in the hospital, and I'm taking care of her, and I'm not leaving her." And he said, "Someone will be there." And I thought, "No, I don't care if someone's there. I will be there." He said, "Well, then you lost to Maryland." I said, "I guess I did." So that's when my life just turned. And it was pretty much in a different path, a different place. Completely.
Yeah, I know how that is. I had a car accident 5 years ago, and if that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, because it was a huge, profound impact on my life, I tell you. I spent 30 days in a coma, and I woke up on my mom's birthday.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I just celebrated the 5-year anniversary a couple weeks ago. It was pretty bad. And
and Tommy, I don't think it's life gives us so many things that can either make, break, change, and when it is so horrific that you go through something, whether it be to yourself and such a terrible, terrible happening that changes you mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. I think that especially as a performer, as growing up and all that, this is what I wanted to do and be. It makes you. It either makes you complete. You wouldn't be who you were if it hadn't happened. That's not to say that I wanted all the things that have happened in my life to have happened.
Of course.
But going through, and you've walked through it, or you've lived through it, or for you to have persevered, it's who you are now.
Absolutely.
It's who you are now.
Absolutely. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for the accident, because it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I spent too many years just, drinking alcohol and just being stupid and just not pursuing my dream and working dead-end jobs. And now, I get to, pursue show business, and that's what I'm doing. And I've gotten, 700 plus interviews on this podcast I've done in the last 3 years.
And that's why you're interviewing me.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what it took for you to get there, and you've reached out to me. I can't even believe that I've been given a gift today to look back and actually look at my life. I haven't done that in forever.
Yeah.
I never had time. I never made time when I was with my mom, and she and my. Believe me, between my mom and I, everyone even said, I can't believe you're the one that took care of her. We were not each other's pals. I mean, there was a lot of turmoil, but I was chosen, and I was chosen for a reason. And with everything that we went through, I said, you know what? When they said, I'm so sorry about your mom, I said, I'm not. She had a beautiful life. She had it her way, and it ended her way. She is in a good place, a much better place than we all are. And to tell you the truth, neither of us had to do time. I didn't kill her, and she didn't kill me. I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So, it could have been worse. But everything that it took, I walked away from everything that really, at that point, was nothing. At that point, I was given a gift to take care of my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, for me, the last 8 years and 7 years, I have spent solely with those that have not had any other option except to die with dignity or overcome something I couldn't even imagine, such as you.
Mm-hmm.
I can only be there for them. And do whatever is asked of me, and that's what has carried me through the last 7-8 years.
Yeah, it all goes back.
Either you can well in it, and you can either woe with me, or you can just get up and learn from it.
Yeah, it all goes back to that day I told you about 15 years ago when I was watching the movie and thinking, why isn't Bethany Wright working more? And now I know. And we both have something in common. We're both strong people who persevere, and it looks like we're both doing okay.
Absolutely. And when I'm not doing okay, when I can fake it until I make it, and I do believe in that. You just have to get through it, because if you don't, you won't. And that was always my motto to those who, live the best you can. And if you can't live the best you can, then really live the best you can get through it until you can. And business, and believe me, my uncle and I always had a thing between each other, because he was a lawyer, and he would say, show business. Yeah, right. I said, no, it is. I said, it's show business, because I will give anything of my heart of where I need to be. I will take it to the limit. I will do whatever needs to be done, but I'll be damned if I'm going to do it for free, because it's a business.
Yes.
So what is asked of me and what I want to be able to do, I have to make a living at it, because it drains you and it takes you. But I wake up every day. If I've had some of the gigs that I've had, and with the Maryland, some of the things that it's nothing compared to a hospice situation. It's nothing compared to going through what you had to get through to where you are now. But I will tell you, when I reach inside and I try to do the best job I can, I should be able to live. I should be able to make a living doing that.
You have and you will.
Yes, you have and you will. And you will.
Well, Bethany, I have another interview in about 7 minutes, but before we hang up, I have this silly game that I'd like you to play with me. I play this with guests all the time. It's like an anti-James Lipton questionnaire of Inside the Actor's Studio. It's slumber party questions. And how this works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me the exact same question, and I answer it.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay.
Okay. Bethany, are you ticklish?
Yes. Tommy, are you ticklish?
I am baby ticklish. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
Both.
Oh, you have an innie outie.
I mean, yeah. They couldn't make up their mind. Wait, is yours an innie or an outie?
I have a very deep innie. What color are your toenails painted?
Right now, my toenails are painted a gold to have gone along with a pair of shoes that I wore for a concert the other night.
Nice.
And are your toenails painted, Tommy?
They're not painted right now, but last time they were purple with sparkles.
Ooh.
Yes. And then my favorite question, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Yes. Unfortunately, from doing all the hospice work that I have done, sometimes when I go into it would be the smell from going into visiting certain places, that there's a smell, and
Oh, yeah.
not a pleasant one. And I hate to say it, but most of the time it's the food, but or just the smell. It's just the smell from assisted living places. And of the smells that you would say would make you gag, what would be the one that would be the worst for you, Tommy?
Either farts or feet. I had...
And when you mix them together under a sheet, it's really disgusting.
Yeah. I had pretty bad athlete's foot when I got out of the hospital because I was very grumpy from the medication. They didn't want to go near me, so they didn't change my socks for like the last month I was there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because my feet, as a dancer and as a performer and modeling, and I've worn I love shoes, but I found that in the last 6 years when I was caregiving, my feet started cracking and bleeding, and it was because of stress. And I have to say, I never thought that it would have healed, and I'm walking on my feet today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bethany, this was an amazing honor. I'm so blessed, and I'm glad I found you. And congrats on getting married. I hope this one lasts.
Don't worry, it will. Tommy, I needless to say, we have a beautiful piece of property, and he's never, ever going to be a mound on it. So
Awesome.
He is an incredible person.
Well, Bethany, you have yourself a great day. I'll see you on Facebook, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, and God bless you, too. You've given me a lot to think about, and I really appreciate the phone call and the whole interview. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Bethany Wright. Ain't she a sweetheart? What a wonderful lady. I interviewed so many blessed ladies on this podcast, but she is just, she's a jewel in the rough, a gem. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!